So this month on the Enough Experiment, I have Kanchan Prinsloo, and we are going to talk about work. We had work in last month's experiment, but I think the subject that we're going to work on today is so important. I wanted to have a whole month specifically for this, which is imposter syndrome. Now, this is something that I've experienced in my own life. I've experienced this with a lot of the powerful women and men too, but mostly women that I'm coaching. And I would love to spend a month working on this with Kanchan and figuring out how on earth do we tame the monster that is imposter syndrome. Kanchan, welcome. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are, and then we will get into the experiment.
Thanks so much, Mandy. And yes, I also have experienced imposter syndrome. I am a commitment to women of color leading powerfully. I spend a lot of time as an executive coach, coaching women, men as well. More importantly, around how do we lead powerfully? One of the things that I would say that helped get me here was a career 26 years in leadership and executive roles. So there's some lived experience that goes with that whole experience as well. And yeah, I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Thank you. Tell us, first of all, what is imposter syndrome? Because I think we all have a bit of an idea what it is, but let's hear it nailed by an expert. What is it?
So imposter syndrome is when you struggle to internalize your successes, and you almost attribute all your successes to an outside source. So in the end, you end up feeling like a fraud, like an imposter.
So let's work on getting that under control this month. So I'm really keen to hear what you can offer us by means of an experiment. What can we do about it?
A really good experiment that I find has helped is taking time. So it's taking time to identify one accomplishment and one trait that makes you a fantastic person. So even as I say this, I can almost feel everyone's blood pressure going up. So when I think of this, the main reason for doing this to one accomplishment plus one trait is the goal is to take time for us to reflect and realize what is that? And then second of all, we're really wanting to, after we've processed it, go into the exercise, which is to internalize. So the exercise itself is to write out the accomplishment and the trait. From there, practice it out loud. We practice it out loud, and then we take it into the world. So we've got a month, first week. Take that example and say it to yourself in a mirror. And whether you were,
can we hang on a second? How can let's actually practice this. So if you did this on yourself, tell us how that would work.
So one of the things that I would say is, as an example, our relationship, I'm talking about my relationship with my husband. Our relationship took a step forward after I really was courageous and had that constructive conversation. Now that sounds really clinical. I could even break it down. I could even go further and say, I was really, really proud of the step I took to be courageous and have that conversation I wanted with him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it can go into real simple ways. The biggest thing is that we take time to reflect and be able to bring ourselves into it. It actually took courage. So let's honor what that was. What was that trait that I brought forward?
So in the first week, we're actually identifying the trait. So the trait of what you just shared with us is courage, and the accomplishment is the conversation that you had with your husband.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm getting it now. It sounds so straightforward, but when I'm actually standing in front of the mirror, I want to know what it is that I'm saying. So I'm brave, I'm courageous, and I'm capable of having challenging conversations, something like that.
Yeah, and I'm proud of it. Like, this is something that was an accomplishment.
Okay.
I was really proud of that.
So it doesn't have to be like I won that trophy in 1977. It can be like something that's happened recently where you had to step up and own that.
And I would say that's the bigger one. It's the little ones that we, what's more powerful are those little steps and along the way.
Okay, fantastic. So the first week, we're actually identifying a trait or traits and an accomplishment. And those accomplishments don't need to be blue ribbons and gold stars. They can be things that we challenged ourselves and, we think, oh, I actually pulled that off. I did that. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So once we've done that in the mirror to ourselves, and it'll probably feel a bit crazy and wooden and unnatural at first, but then once we've mastered that in the first week or so, then what do we do?
So that the main thing is that we, by saying it out loud, it's the out loud that makes it the hard part. So you're right. For yourself, week 2 is to have a new example, think of a new example and share it with either a family member or a trusted friend. So now we're taking it outside of ourselves in the mirror. We're testing it out in a safe space.
Yeah.
And then week 3 and week 4, and I've got it as the same exercise for the 2 weeks, and we're taking it even that little bit further, which is to think of a brand new example again and share it with a work colleague or someone within the community, someone that is outside of first of all, the mirror, our family, and then outside even further than that.
Okay, that part makes me contract a little bit, which is why it's probably necessary. So how would you actually, if we go right to the end, just so we can start to see before somebody says, I'm not doing that, they disengage from the experiment because it feels edgy.
Yeah.
What could that look like? Just so if you could you model a statement for us, maybe one of your own of how you would even say that? Because I would get all tongue-tied.
Yeah.
What could that look like?
That's a great question, because if I'm looking at going to week 4 and I'm in a work environment, so I work with a lot of women leaders, and one of the examples would be, I'm really proud of the success we've had with this project because collaboration is so important for me.
Oh.
So what you're doing is you're taking something that you are proud of, especially in a work environment, and bringing forward a value or something that you know is powerful and who you are and makes you special, makes you a fantastic person. It's bringing that forward to people around you.
Mm-hmm. So how, to sum this up then, how does speaking those things into the world? So the first step is thinking about them, writing them down. The second step is processing them with ourselves in the mirror until it feels a little bit less cringy, awkward. Then it's taking it out and road testing it with our friends and family in our inner sanctum. And then what we're actually doing is taking them out into the world with colleagues. And hopefully by then we've habitualized talking about a value and an accomplishment in a way that helps us to confront imposter syndrome. So how does that practice actually do that? Just to sum up.
One of the biggest shifts with imposter syndrome is to start to internalize our successes. So when we internalize, when we start to bring that realization to the forefront for ourselves, and then we start to verbalize it, we're starting to internalize. And when we internalize, we're hearing ourselves, then, only then can we externalize, bring it out to other people.
Got it.
Which counters.
Wonderful. I know you have lots of resources where
Yes.
people who are keen to learn how to kick imposter syndrome to the curb once and for all. Where can people find you and those resources that they can get their hands on?
You can find me on my website at kanchanprinsloo.com. Mm-hmm. And there'll be resources there, as well as, I know, Mandy, you'll be sharing resources as well.
I will. Thank you so much. I can't wait to dive into this experiment. So mirrors at the ready. Thanks, yes. Kanchan.